Hi everyone. So happy to see so many joining today. My name is Isabella Sege, and I work as the employer brand country lead for TietoEVRY in Sweden. And today we have Filip Jägerud joining us from TietoEVRY, and he's going to give you an introduction to us as a company, and then deep dive into his work and what it's like to work as a developer in a big Nordic tech company. So I'm going to hand over to our superstar, Filip. Filip, the stage is yours, and let's kick off.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to my talk by me, on me. So my name is Filip Jägerud, and I'm, as Isabella said, software developer / Scrum Master here at TietoEVRY. About 50% of the time on each. Before this, I studied information system analysis at Linköping University. Let's see, yeah. And now I live and work in Gothenburg. And I live with my partner Moa and our 18-month son Carl. So there's not a lot of free time with an 18-month son. But when I have some, I play some computer games, like many other developers do, even though it's like once a month instead of 5 hours a day. At least before the pandemic, I used to go to the gym, but now it's more like walking around the house, doing some gardening. I also like to take photos, love to go sailing in the summers. Yeah, pretty normal guy, I think. So let's go to the agenda instead. I'll start off with a short clip about TietoEVRY and some shorter information about the company. And then go on to what it's like to work as a developer, some projects, technologies I use, opportunities, and the graduate program at TietoEVRY. And then we end with some questions. So here we go. Okay, so I'll just start off short with the biggest thing that's impacted us recently, which is the huge merger between Tieto and EVRY. And it's created a lot of opportunities, and it's a really interesting time at the company right now. A lot of changes going on. And this makes us quite big, 24,000 people globally, mostly in the Nordics. And we have customers in 90 countries, and we're over 7,000 consultants like me. And we're about 4,500 people in Sweden, and we have 27 offices, which I think is pretty great, since if you move or if you live outside the bigger cities, there's always like an office close by, so you don't have to work from home, at least when there's not a pandemic. And we're in pretty much every segment almost. Forestry, which is my segment, isn't listed here, but it's quite big too. And moving on to, more importantly, what is it like to work as a developer? I start off with some general thoughts. And I think one thing that really scared me when I was finishing university and starting to think about applying for a job was, will I know enough? Am I good enough? Of course. And you have your courses at university, but maybe not a lot of real life experience. Not me, at least. But you don't have to be scared for this. I realized quite fast, actually, because you always get the opportunity to learn on the job. So there's really no need to fake it till you make it, which was me like the first week. and super afraid to ask questions to appear stupid or yeah, exactly. So you don't have to be afraid. There's always someone there to help you. And another thing different from university are the large code bases. At university we made pretty much everything from scratch, and it could be like 10 or 20 classes or something. Maybe 1,000 rows of code max. But in the real world, or at least in my world, the code bases are like hundreds or thousands of classes and files, and many thousand rows of code. If you're unlucky, like one file could contain 10,000 rows of code in some old project. And yeah, I also wanted to mention like the team. There's always a team around you. So if there's something you need to ask, there's always like a teammate. And if the teammate doesn't know, you have like a whole apartment around you. And that not all programming is hard focus, which also was something that I thought before. Like you're going to make like the most complex algorithms, etc. But sometimes it's just like repetitive work, inputting text into a database or something for tooltips, for example. But this doesn't have to be boring either. If you do it for like 30 minutes and you listen to some music, drink some coffee, it's a good time too. And it's good if you don't really have the focus to do these super complex algorithms, which brings me to freedom too. You have a lot of freedom to like plan your day, plan your week. If you're tired in the morning, you could read some email, write up people on Teams, or yeah, maybe if it's slow, you don't have to do anything and you can do more work in the evening instead, which is a great part of the job. And also the trust to do this, to plan your own time, and to decide if you need to be at office or if you could work better from home. And this, I think, differentiates TietoEVRY a little bit from competitors, because really from the start I had the opportunity to work from home and do some teachings or learnings, watch, I don't know, Pluralsight, etc. And I think that's really great. This also brings me to a typical workday, which was one thing I really wondered about. How does a workday look? I had barely ever worked in an office before. And I don't know if there is such a thing as a typical workday, and it was super hard to jot one down. And I don't work from 6 every day, but some days if I wake up early and I have a lot to do, maybe I'll start at 6 in the morning and I end the day early. Or I start at 8:30 or 9 if I drop my kid off at kindergarten. And then I start with reading some email, checking up on Teams, preparing for the daily Scrum, which I lead at 9 sharp, trying to keep it within 15 minutes according to the framework, which is like a regular problem, I think, that people do like daily Scrums for an hour. They talk about everything, which I think that's not the purpose. And then maybe I'll do some programming before the Scrum of Scrums, which is once a week, where the Scrum Masters of about 20 teams meet up. And we have like a daily Scrum, but with a lot of teams instead. And here I'll show you a Miro board of our Scrum of Scrums. So yeah, you can't really see anything, but it's pretty complex. There are like 20 teams, and we all have each got a lane, and then it's 3 sprints of 3 weeks each, ending with 1 week for like innovations and learnings, etc. So I'm not super sure, but I think this is part of the SAFe framework, another agile framework. It's a little bit mixed between Scrum, SAFe, and other agile teachings, pretty much. But I think this is great. All the orange spots here are integrations and dependencies to other systems. So you plan for 10 weeks and you know, like in 7 weeks, we need to have this done and these projects are affected. And there is also some white, more informational stuff too. Yep, and then after this, try to keep it within 30 minutes. We have some agile lesson or something, because there's like an agile coach also working for the customer from TietoEVRY that's teaching both the customer and us Scrum Masters about agile frameworks, etc. Then I do some more programming or checking up with the team, and then I have lunch, depending on the weather, for like maybe a half an hour if it's raining, or maybe a 1.5 hour if the sun is shining and I can sit outside. Depends a lot. Then some more coding, and then we have like a retro or review according to the Scrum network, where we check up on the last sprint or something like that. Maybe some integrations to some other team, or some change management process, or yeah, something that I learned in the Agile lesson maybe. And then continued work until somewhere between 4 and 5:30 when I'm going home, going upstairs. So some projects. As a consultant, I usually have like 1 to 3 projects at the same time. Now I have one, which is this Skogsvårdsportalen, which is like the forestry portal in English maybe, but it's mostly and almost only, I think, used by the Swedish and Finnish forest industry. And it's for planning and planting season using interactive GIS maps. And if you don't know what a GIS map is, I'll show you quickly here. So this is a GIS map of the area where I live. There's not a lot of planting being done here, but yeah, doesn't really matter. So you can see this light green area is the planting area. And then there's a caravan where the entrepreneur can sleep if it's like a multi-day job. There's an emergency spot. They have all this information about heights and waters and roads, etc., etc. So yeah, there's a lot of information. I don't understand half of it. And the project I had before Skogsvårdsportalen was Agrivise, which is a web application, also a web application used by Swedish farmers and the Swedish Board of Agriculture. And it's made up of complex tables and calculations to help farmers with business decisions. This could be anything from, how much manure will I need next year? Will my farm produce enough, or do I need to buy more? And should I buy a cow, or should I buy more pigs or wheat or whatever? So it's a great tool for farmers. And here's the tech stack in short. They're both C#. In the forest unit, we mostly work in the Microsoft universe. Skogsvårdsportalen is a bit older. It's ASP.NET Web Forms, native JavaScript and jQuery, Bootstrap, Entity Framework, and Microsoft SQL Server. Agrivise is also C#, but it's that .NET MVC 5, I think. And .NET 4 point something, I think. So it's not the newest, but kind of new. And Angular 8, which was the newest at the time when I quit the project. Also Bootstrap and Hibernate instead of Entity Framework, and also Microsoft SQL Server. So yeah, Skogsvårdsportalen is a bit older tech stack, circa 2013, but the project has the potential to be there from the start of new, which is always like a discussion that's going on. We're always making smaller changes, but maybe we will migrate to Azure DevOps and change frontend to Angular or something like that after the summer, hopefully. But what's most fun about the project, I think, is the agile change management, which is a great experience for me personally, and it's really exciting. There's a lot of change in the whole company, and it's also a full stack project. Both of them are with small teams of around 5 people. So yeah, I think it's a lot of fun to do most parts of the team, not just like front end development, etc. And Agrowise is newer tech stack. It was under development when I started 2019, and it went live 2020, I think. And it was a lot of fun for me. I had the potential to grow from a junior developer just out of school to kind of a lead dev and a Scrum master with the more holistic responsibilities. Since 2 of my project teammates left the project to go to another project, leaving me with more responsibilities, which was scary in the start, but a great experience, and it made me learn a lot more. And I also had to mentor 2 new junior developers. So it was a journey. It was a lot of fun. And here are some more technologies I use. And the question, what is a full stack developer? Lifelong question. To me, I'm maybe a web full stack developer. I work from the front end to the back end, database, some server management, deploys, etc. Whoops, sorry, something happened. 1 second. There we go. You must have some technical problems too. There we go. Excuse me. So yeah, C#, as I said, JavaScript, mostly Angular, but now also jQuery and native SQL, HTML, CSS, Entity Framework, and Hibernate as object database mappers, helping the connection between the code and the database, if you're not familiar. And for version control, we use both SVN and Git, mostly SVN in older projects. To me, I don't think they're that different. It doesn't really make a difference in the Workday, but I prefer Git, I think, with the local commits, etc. We use Azure DevOps. Depends on the project, how many integrations are done. Now we have like the build process, but yeah, hopefully we will have automated testing in Azure DevOps too soon, and also issue tracker, etc., which we do now in Jira. And we use Miro for this Scrum on Scrum boards, and of course Teams. Maybe half of my time is in Teams, I think. So I'll tell you a little bit about the graduate program, which I think is a great way to start your career and to start your work at maybe at TietoEVRY. So we got 2 different tracks. We got the specialist track and the rotation track. And the specialist track, as it sounds, is more you specialize on one job, maybe as a software developer, and it's designed for both tech and business graduates. And the rotation track in the financial services is designed for tech students, where you can alter between like developer, tester, and maybe some more roles. You'll have to ask maybe Isabella later about that. Yeah, and one great thing about the graduate recruitment is that it's gamified, which makes it unbiased and quite impossible for us to make even unconscious biased decisions, which many people do. Like people that look like themselves. So this is a great way to get better diversity. So you start with playing a game, which assesses your cognitive thinking, problem solving, and personality traits, as it says here. Which it's it's really well liked too. And you become a part of a community. We have like young professionals where you can meet up for like after works, and at least you could before the pandemic. I was actually in charge for young professionals in Gothenburg. So yeah, we had a lot of fun. And you get like a mentor and you get a buddy. So you got a team and also a mentor and buddy to ask questions. So yeah, it's a great start. And there's also some former graduates have entered. Here we can see like, yeah, business analyst, software developer, cloud consultant, and many more, of course. And we actually got a graduate student starting now in our forest unit after the summer. So it really works. And we will start new recruitment for next year's graduate this fall. So if you want to learn more about us and stay updated, we're on social media, most of it, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And if you're not already a friend of Tieto, please feel free to sign up, and you get information about when the graduate program opens, new positions, events like this, etc., etc. And also feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn if there's any more questions. And I know that Forest Consulting is hiring right now, looking for software developers. So if that's interesting to work with me or close to me, hit me up on LinkedIn. But the whole company is recruiting, so there's a lot of fun stuff to do. So, Isabella, is there any questions?
Yes, we actually have a lot of questions in the chat,
Okay.
and I think we won't be able to cover all of them, but I thought there's a few questions on the recruitment part, so I will try to cover that afterwards,
Yep.
or then we can take it through email. I'll share my email in the chat. But otherwise, for you, Filip, like questions around your studies. There was one question in the chat. Do you feel that the universities prepared you enough to work as a developer? That is one question that came in that I think is interesting.
Yeah, it's a great question. And that was one of the things I was super scared about. And there's a lot of different programs on the university too. But I think so. And you're never expected to go like straight from university and straight to the customer and like know everything. And even when you're working, you have to get into the new code base, etc. And the new technologies on new projects. So you get the preparation you need, and then you learn on the job, I'd say.
And do you have any maybe any recommendation on what a computer science student should focus on to land a job? For example, here do you have any recommendations on maybe certificates or how to focus on in studying? Maybe that's a tricky question, but
yeah, kind of tricky. I wouldn't say you'd need certificates before you start working, but they're great to have. I only have one so far, one official, the Scrum Master one. But I'm right now trying to take the Azure Cloud certificates. But yeah, what to focus on? Yeah, it's really hard. But yeah, maybe some like open source projects are always great. It's great for learning, and it's great for showing up on an interview. So that's a tip.
Thank you, Filip. Let's see what else we have. We have a few minutes left.
Yep.
I think we had a question on the kind of the teamwork. So what software do you use for logging, and how do you plan what each teammate should do? How do you split the tasks in the team?
Yeah, it depends a bit. We use Jira now as an issue tracker in this project. I've used Azure DevOps before. So we use like a Scrum board, and according to Scrum, you're supposed to take your own task, and you're like, yeah, I will work on this task, this sprint, and you take a new one if you're finished. But it can depend. If there's some people that know part of the system better, naturally, they might get those ones, which isn't great in the long run either, since it's better if everyone knows every part of the system. I almost forgot the question. we use Jira, and the time reporting also depends. Sometimes it's you report on like every issue. You estimate it yourself and say like this will take 8 hours, and the customer says okay, seems fair, and then you report the hours you work and you check up with the customers if it takes more time. And on some projects you just write down like the old hours you put in during the month. So it depends.
All right, thank you, Filip. So a few more minutes left. I think there is one question around what it's like to work, or what it will be like to work at the company after the pandemic. And I think that's maybe a question that I can try to answer. But in general, I mean, the pandemic has set a lot of challenges for all companies, and we are constantly looking through the way of working and the offices and the setup in the future, because the pandemic has really changed things. Before the pandemic, we had a very strong culture of working from home before. So for us, it wasn't such a big game changer. It was more that we jumped in and helped a lot of customers to kind of do this and to be prepared when it comes to digitalization. So it will for sure change the way we work. So in some things, efficiency goes up, but then there's plenty of questions on how do you do innovation over teams, and that is something we work on every day to help customers with that also. So not sure if I can give you a very clear answer, but we are, I think, all hoping to go back to the office to some extent, but when that will happen and how that will go remains unanswered for now. I also see there's a lot of questions on criteria for recruitment and what we look for. One question that often pops up is the Swedish language, if that is mandatory when we hire. No, we use English as the corporate language. But for some recruitments, if the customer has a requirement of Swedish language or other criteria, we will follow what the customer asks. So it's a bit depending on what job you're looking for and what kind of project and what kind of client you will be working with. But I think we're running out of time. I don't have time to answer all the recruitment related questions, but I posted my email in the chat. So please feel free to email me and I'll try to forward the questions to the right people or answer them myself. And I think otherwise we would like to thank you for joining us today. And really, I recommend that you sign up for Friends at TietoEVRY, which is our community where you get some information about events and open job opportunities. So for example, the graduate program. So can we see, I don't know, do we have the slide up here now on the screen? But
yeah, it's
okay, then I just can't see it myself, sorry. So scan the QR code and just sign up for the community so that you get the information and you stay updated on things that we're doing. And then connect with Filip or me afterwards.
Yeah.
And thank you, Filip, for a really nice presentation. And thanks for everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.